face not shown.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. The holidays are over and we did it. We made it. These holidays were just too good to only have one person with me. Although Rabbi Litwak is such a presence, we also wanted to invite Cantor Norman. Hey guys, how you doing?
How are you, Rabbi David?
I'm good. So we did it. Actually, I should say you did it. So what was this like? In the title of this, I put another new high holidays. Did this feel new? Did it feel different, Rabbi Litwak, than last year?
Oh, for sure. This was, yes, there were elements of it that were similar, but this was a new hybrid. This was really thinking about our high holy days in a completely new way. Last year, when we were all online, that was new, and we had to think about that. But this year, when we were in a hybrid mode where there was an audience in the sanctuary, a congregation in the sanctuary, and a congregation online, we had to be conscious of both of those and the experiences that they had. We worked very hard, as my dear colleague Cantor Norman said to me earlier, to level the field and treat people the same, and allow people to have as much of a similar experience as possible.
I'm curious if, and Cantor Norman, I'd love to hear what you think about this, not only from a musical side, but just in general. I know that there is a different energy when there are human bodies in a room. There's just a was that palpable? Did you feel that this year? Did that change sort of the way that you led services?
Of course, there were things that made this experience unique for us, because when people started coming back to the synagogue, this was again like a new beginning for us. It was so great to not just sing at a camera, but singing at real people, that you could see the interaction even behind the masks, that created a positive feedback. So for sure, that was an amazing experience to have people again. And compared to Shabbat services, where our congregation in person is smaller, at least we have a very interesting amount of people in the sanctuary it felt really good. Yes, indeed.
We've had people in the sanctuary for Shabbat, and in fact, Rabbi, was it this past Shabbos that we just started having people back Friday nights also, or Saturday morning? I'm forgetting, getting the two mixed up.
That is.
Yeah.
It's different. Last year, I think about it, and so much of it was just a production. Yeah. That when we were when a lot of what we did was pre-recorded, it was just doing it and being in the moment. There's something to that, but not having a congregation and just knowing that this is being pre-recorded and then being presented, there doesn't have that same feel. So to have people in the sanctuary was great. It was wonderful.
Yeah. So, you mentioned the production, and one of the things that I've seen going around on Facebook a lot is non-congregational clergy reminding other non-rabbis and cantors to thank the congregational rabbis and cantors. What did the workload? I mean, how did you get ready for this year? Like, what did that even look like? How did you survive all the production preparation that went into this?
Well, that's where I think people don't necessarily understand what it takes to put on High Holy Days. Even a few years ago, that there's a lot that goes behind the scenes, right? Getting the music ready, you can ask Cantor Norman, it takes time. Right? Getting the choir all on literally the same page takes time. Right? Getting everybody who has an honor to know what that honor is, what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it. Right? It's about getting the buildings set up. And all of those things are important. And then we added this year. Right? It was a huge effort. This year, more than I think really any previous year, right? Because of two reasons. One is that it was a huge effort for us to bring the liturgy onto the screen, right? Which I give credit to my colleague, Cantor Norman. All of those slides, all of the what we call the lower third at the bottom was produced, and that was produced by Cantor Norman. Right? The Hebrew, the English translation, the transliteration had to get onto those slides, and he did it. Right? So that we could ensure that if somebody wanted to participate in services, that it wasn't a passive experience. Right? You weren't just sitting there watching the service happen. You could be. On the other hand, from my end, and the way I explain the workload is that it's a little bit like the game of Tetris. Okay? Tetris, where things drop down and then to fall into their right spot. Okay? Well, this is on any other given year, the Tetris piece is I call somebody and say, I'd love to honor you by having you participate in services on Rosh Hashanah. Right? And they may say to me, listen, I'm not going to be here for Rosh Hashanah. At which point I say, okay, no problem. We'll slide you over to Yom Kippur. Oh, you're not going to be at Yom Kippur? We'll slide you back over to Rosh Hashanah. That was the sum total. Then we get to this year, which is 3D Tetris, right? Where it's not just a question of, are you going to be participating in Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, but are you going to be participating in person or online? I can't give an ARC opening to somebody who is online. It doesn't work. Okay. Then, all right, if they're not going to be in person, they're going to be online, then it's a question of, are they going to participate live, all right, by coming in through our stream,
Right.
or is it going to be a pre-recorded piece? Okay. So there's all of these pieces that had to fit together, and that took time. And I had just the hope that we were going to be in person, and then Delta came along and really knocked us off. So whereas last year we spent the entire summer preparing and working and getting things ready, this year, I don't want to say we waited later, but we did, right? And then now we have to do this 3D Tetris.
I
So
have a confession.
Cantor,
I
I
have a
want to hear.
confession.
Hold on, I want to hear. I'm going to go to Cantor. I don't want to forget. I want to come back to that, the hopefulness and the waiting. But Cantor,
For
please
sure.
take it. What did you
I
want to
have
share?
a confession to make. Last year, Rabbi was explaining that it was a huge effort also, and the focus was on production. And I remember I had to learn new skills, how to produce things. I were hours and hours of editing videos and remembering, not getting the videos pretty in time just for the next for the release. Everything was a lot implied a lot of stress for me, and I said to myself, "Who last year? I'm glad it's over because next year is going to be different." Of course, it was different for good, but this year in particular were also new. All this hybrid mode service that eventually, as Rabbi said, was decided probably later in the year because we wanted to wait until there was no choice but to make it hybrid, or completely hybrid. Implied a lot of juggling with the technology of how to do things equally for people here in the sanctuary, and also people at home. So a lot of copy and paste and formatting for myself from myself doing this in the past 2 years prior to the high holidays was very mechanic, and but at least I was in control of that. So in one way, I felt that everything that was done, I think was going to be useful for the years to come, because this is a technology or a new norm that is staying for many years. So that was a good thing for me was this year, that all the effort that I put into making these slides available, and everything related to the video technology, everything's was for a purpose just to stay, because we wanted to make sure that this is our new standard.
So let's talk about that newness, though, because we were in a staff meeting, and I don't remember the context, but someone said, hopefully next year we won't be doing this, and I said, no, we will be, and there was an audible grunt in the room. Are we going to find ourselves next summer scrambling, or are we now in a place where this is what it's going to look like? And now we just want to get better at it. What do you think, Rabbi?
I think the latter far more than the former. I think that this is the way in which liturgy and worship is going to go. I think that there are benefits to it. I think that there are challenges. And I think that this year, as Cantor said, we built on last year. And next year, we're building on this year. We are getting better at it. I even think about anybody who watched our Erev Rosh Hashanah service or even Rosh Hashanah morning, and
Yeah,
then watched
that was my fault.
our yeah, then watched Yom Kippur morning and Yom Kippur afternoon. It's just completely different because we were learning on the fly. And for some synagogues that have been doing this for a long time, wonderful. This was new, and we had new technology even this year compared to last year, and some of it was put in weeks or days before the high holy days, and we had to do that. We won't
Yes,
have to do that next year.
definitely not. Uh, and I think I I agree with Rabbi. We are getting better at this. We are learning. I find this something so interesting to learn. I mean, all this new technology for us is a new subject in rabbinical or cantorial schools, I guess. But we were not trained for that. But definitely, the moment that we feel that what we are conveying is better, is getting to people in a better way, I feel personally quite satisfied. And but on the other hand, one of the things I've been reflecting is that all of this newness, uh, for me specifically, and I think Rabbi also, the main challenge was here coping with this, with the frustrations when things didn't go right. Because uh, uh, when we were before pre-COVID in person, things that could not go well, especially in my field, the music, the davening was maybe maybe someone missed the cue in my music team. I maybe sang a wrong note. Maybe there was a feedback in the microphone. Things that you could see in the moment, and this pass. But especially in the technology now, there were things that we knew they were probably wrong, or we suspected that were not quite right. Um, but there was nothing we could do at the moment, uh, rather than just going to the vaccines and ask people, is there everything all right? For me, that being out of control, things I could not be in command, was very, very difficult. But I learned how to log in Hebrew et Yitzro, how to control my impulse to make sure that the main focus was the davening. I said to myself, look, I cannot control what is beyond my control. Let's focus on the davening because this is my main role in the synagogue, and I think I did it well enough in most of the times, even when things were wrong. I went. I tried to say this is what I'm here for. So
That was actually one of my next question was about davening. This is, by the way, I just have up on the screen. This is just a Yom Kippur service, and you can see some of the, I mean, multiple cameras and the liturgy at the bottom. And let's see, this is actually, yeah. So this is actually a video that was pre-recorded, right? And yet it was brought. The people in the Zoomagogue at home wouldn't necessarily know that this was pre-recorded because it's right in front of the ark. You've got the choir over here. What was the davening experience for you? I mean, did you let me just take a step back. So I was sitting in the back, pressing buttons, and I actually spent quite a bit of time thinking about, am I davening? Not in a negative way at all. Actually, in a very positive way. Like, is what I'm doing? Can what I'm doing be a form of davening? What was the experience like for you? Did you get to daven? Rabbi, I'll start with you.
Okay. The answer is far more than I had anticipated. And part of that is because you, Rabbi David, took for me. And that um, for the last 18 months, I have had an iPad in one hand and a clicker in the other. Okay? And for the first time, literally for the first time in 18 months, I had a machzor, a High Holy Day prayer book in front of me. Okay? And that meant that I didn't need to be. I constantly thinking about, um, you know, are we on the right slide? And I could see that. Sure, right? But someone else was doing that, and that was you, right? And that meant that I was able to, at points, be in the moment, uh, and really be able to pray.
Um,
That speaks. Sorry, Cantor. I
no,
just
no.
want to quickly say that that speaks to how important it is for communities to have support staff to take some of that load off of.
Right.
It's you talked at the beginning about how much production and how much work goes into. It's not really just the high holidays. It should be every Shabbos. It should be every
Right.
service,
For
and
sure.
and I think that it's very easy for us and others to think of these as performances, and of course there are elements of performance in it. But what, for me, what is fundamentally different is that I'm not, when I'm leading a service, I'm not leading it for you. I'm leading it for me, and I'm inviting you to come with me. And when we as clergy lose the capacity to daven ourselves, to have an experience ourselves, I don't think we do a very good job of bringing other people along on that journey. Cantor, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, what I just wanted to show the page in my prayer book. So if you see I don't know if people can see that, but initially the goal was to when we discussed with Rabbi, you will see here some numbers here in color. What are these? These are the preset views of the cameras that we were going to do. We talked about that with Rabbi. Initially, we said you will do the clicking, and I said to him on high quality, let me do uh, the
Scene.
iPad so that we can change the cameras, and that's all these color coded things that you saw in the page on the page. But the problem is then I realized the moment I was concentrating on this, how am I going to daven? If because I'm not successful in davening, as you say, for myself, how am I going to connect with people and fulfill the mission that to be an emissary, to be a shliach tzibur? The only way to do that is, of course, if you let go of other stuff so that you can concentrate on Shabbat, because the liturgy and maybe all the elements around are simplified. We are doing that, and I think we are doing quite well. But for high holidays, I felt no way, and then that's why we asked you in the end to do that. I personally didn't feel at ease asking you to do that because also you're a very spiritual person, and I will kind of gave you the burden, like transfer you the burden of doing that. But definitely for the synagogue, for the congregation, I think freeing us from doing the clicking or the changing of cameras was or may help us daven. I felt I could daven this year.
Can I add one more word on that? And that is, uh, for me, yes, of course, I agree with you, Rabbi David, that if we're not in the moment, it's hard for the rest of the community to be in that moment, and so for me, I felt, and even when I'm not in the moment, I acknowledge that for some people the experience is different, whether they're in the sanctuary, whether they're in or at home, than the experience that I'm having. And if I can know that they are having a good experience, that I'm facilitating for them, that then I may not be I may not get to daven, I may not get to pray myself, but I feel good that I've facilitated that for others.
Yeah. Let me ask you about the experience, because while I may have been the monkey pressing the buttons, I didn't do any of the design or the thinking, the visioning behind what you created. This is one of my favorite scenes that you all have. And this is something that we could not do without this technology. So for those of you that are watching, this is the rabbi and the cantor are not standing next to each other here. It's two separate cameras that they have spliced together perfectly with a flag behind each of them. Cantor, what was the thinking, and what were some of the different experiences that you were able to give people at home that they would not be able to get in person in the sanctuary?
Well, for sure, they will say can confirm that Rabbi is taller than me. That's for sure. In the close-up shot. But besides that, the idea is, I think, actually was something that was brought by you, Rabbi David, that people want to see us close. Remember that we had this conversation, and of course you do that through Zoom. Usually that's the platform that you were using before, and then we were playing around. Of course, at first we didn't have two cameras; we had only one, so we used to split and crop, and everything was not that sharp. So the moment we got the third camera, everything was easier for me to format, and definitely this is a great opportunity for us when we do things together and still want people to see a close up. This shot when we split the image and we put it together. I think it's a great way to be together. Actually, I miss being together with Rabbi in the pulpit. Before COVID, we used to share the same lectern, and now we are apart. So this is a way for us to be together as well, davening for everyone else.
That was even on the high holidays. You used to stand together at the Amud in the center.
No, that was the only time.
Actually, that's not. Yeah.
Oh, for Shabbat. Okay. But now on Shabbat, you're even separate.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that for some people whose tradition, for lack of a better word, whose tradition was to sit in the back of the sanctuary, or for that matter, in the social hall further back, right, that they never had the chance to see us really close. And the comments that we've received, and this is just something since we've started streaming and being conscious of filling the screen and not being so far back that you can't see us, that there's a feeling of connection that they didn't have prior to that. That there's that, a shot like this, right, that you're looking at from somebody in the sanctuary, you could consider yourself a spectator, right? Versus if we're up close, it's much more personal. And I didn't realize that until until we started doing this.
And one of the comments actually that made me realize how important it is, these close-up shots, is one of the comments was, of course, they see us close and they told me it's nice because you convey the emotion. But one of the comments also on the on the contrary was, you look painful one day. I remember one of the services. And actually, I had a cramp. I said I had a cramp, and
they could see your cramp.
Yeah, that's right.
but it means that we are human beings. So
right.
we are not robots who just read or sing. We are human beings. We convey emotions. If we are feeling not 100%, it shows. So maybe that's this level of authenticity, and I think is positive in a way, because people can connect us because who we are and how we feel.
Yeah, and also all of this technology allowed you to. Let me jump ahead to it here. It should come any second. To bring in live guests who were not able to join us in person, but were able to still have an aliyah, which is, I'm not sure why none of us thought of this before, but it's when you do it right. Like you said, Rabbi, by Yom Kippur, we actually figured it out.
We did figure it out. Thank goodness the Garfinkels, they were, that was the couple.
Flawless. It was flawless.
But I think that is a wave of the future. I think that we've set it up and have spent the time and the energy and the dollars, and soon we'll get it did, but to be able to include people in our worship in ways that we never imagined. And I particularly think about B'nai Mitzvah, a grandmother or grandfather who can't travel, or it's cost prohibitive to travel, health reasons, and for them to be a part of it far more than just passively watching.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a bris this morning, and there were a few immediate family members in the room, but the majority were on Zoom, and they were just as much a part of the experience as anyone. So I don't want to, if you all have anything else you want to share, but I'm also being cognizant of the time. I want to make sure that everyone knows that if for whatever reason you missed the high holiday services or any services that these two fantastic, amazing leaders have done, you can see them all at tsnd.tv. tsnd.tv is where all of our services live. Is there anything else that you want to throw in, Rabbi or Cantor, about the fact that so I saw on Facebook today that some other rabbi at the end of services yesterday morning, because for many people, yesterday was actually the end of the holiday season, he kind of mic dropped his siddur, his siddur, like we did it, So is there any mic drops that you all want to make, or last comments or thoughts?
I say Shana Tova, Mituka, Gamar Chatima Tova, Moadim L'Simcha, and now soon tomorrow we just get to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, absolutely.
Shabbat Shalom, yeah.
Thank you so much. This was really beautiful. I'm really grateful.
Thank you, Rabbi David, for the extraordinary. You call yourself a monkey. That is.
I was a monkey pressing buttons. That's all I was.
All right.
But of course, my honor. But we're now back, Rabbi Litwak and I, every other week, or the second and fourth, I think we're doing, and we have some great conversations coming up. So thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you on Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Bye.